When was the last time you really took the time to think? Not just run through your to do list, but to deeply examine your life, your assumptions, your decisions. In a world where speed and efficiency dominate, genuine critical thinking has become a rare activity. Michael R. LeGault explores this issue in his book Think: Why Crucial Decisions Can't Be Made in the Blink of an Eye, making a compelling argument that modern society is suffering from a thinking deficit. In our fast-paced society, the art of deliberate thought is fading. Rather than solving problems ourselves, we often outsource our thinking to specialists or gurus. In the manufacturing world, I saw this firsthand. Instead of examining the root of a problem, companies would quickly bring in experts to fix things and get production back on track. But this habit raises a fundamental question. Why do we ignore our innate ability to process complex information and reason our way to solutions? Critical thinking isn't just about forming thoughts. Anyone can do that. It's more than that. It's about forming useful, informed, and rational thoughts. It involves suspending judgment until all facts are considered. This skill is essential in a society overwhelmed by noise and urgency. We often lean too heavily on first impressions and gut reactions. Our brains are wired for quick assessments, but not every problem can or should be resolved in a split second. For instance, when confronted with a dilemma, we frequently limit our choices to either option A or option B without considering that both may have merit, or that a third, better alternative might exist. This is known as the fallacy of the excluded middle. We need to take time to think through our options. Emotion and instinct are vital to human experience, but when we over-rely on them at the expense of data and analysis, we risk poor decision-making. There's a reason statistics and logic consistently outperform guesses and gut feelings. Our decline in critical thought could even be tied to broader issues, like our health. Is our physical wellness declining because our minds are too distracted or dulled to make sound choices? Consider the fact that Einstein's groundbreaking equation E equals mc squared began as a thought experiment. It held no practical value at the time until Einstein thought it through, worked out the equations, and developed it into one of the most important theories in physics. Are we losing that kind of intellectual discipline? Have we reached a point where we no longer have the knowledge base or patience to think deeply without immediately turning to artificial intelligence or crowdsourced opinions? Too often we allow external factors to dictate our beliefs. Instead of reflecting on our own behaviors and decisions, we medicalize or rationalize them. Gambling becomes a disorder. Compulsive shopping is rebranded as a syndrome. Even emotions are outsourced. We check in with therapists to process them instead of building personal accountability. A culture that avoids responsibility is one that stifles critical thinking. Without accountability, there's no incentive to improve how we think. Take the example of ADHD and the overprescription of Ritalin. Why is it that the United States consumes the majority of the world's supply of this medication? Are children in other countries immune to attention issues, or do they address them differently? We've started to treat natural behaviors like restlessness or high energy as conditions that must be controlled. Is ADD even a disorder in every context? Maybe our desire to label and medicate is less about children's needs and more about adult convenience. This raises a disturbing trend. Are we blaming children for symptoms that reflect our failure to provide them with structure, time, and attention? If parents and educators are too busy to engage, it's easier to turn to pills. But what are we really teaching kids when we do this? That discomfort should be medicated instead of understood? Parents play a pivotal role in nurturing the next generation's thinking habits. Unfortunately, too many parents opt for ease over effort. They let nannies or screens raise their kids, afraid to set boundaries or enforce discipline. But children don't need more friends. They need parents who act as mentors and guides. Saying no is one of the most powerful things a parent can do. Children must be allowed to fail, to face consequences, and to learn from them. This builds resilience and teaches them to think independently. Instead of scheduling every minute with activities, give them unstructured time. Let them be bored. Let them wonder. Let them think. We also have a larger cultural obsession with political correctness. Important discussions are often silenced for fear of offending. For example, why is it considered sexist to explore why fewer women pursue careers in science? Is it possible that many women simply prefer other professions aligned with their interests and values? Political correctness has created an environment where uncomfortable truths are ignored and honest dialogue is discouraged. Affirmative action is another case in point. While well-intentioned, these policies can unintentionally undermine merit and create a sense of entitlement. If performance standards are lowered in the name of inclusion, does that truly help those it's meant to support? Or does it hinder them by setting reduced expectations? Celebrating diversity should not come at the cost of intellectual rigor. Television and mass media further complicate our ability to think critically. We often consume media passively, letting it shape our beliefs without questioning its motives. News is curated to provoke fear and keep us watching. Sensationalism trumps substance. We begin to tune out or accept information without examining its accuracy or agenda. Over time, this dulls our mental acuity. We become fungus-like instead of human-like when watching TV on the couch. Furthermore, excessive screen time replaces reading, discussion, and reflection, all of which are vital to cultivating critical thinking. Even so-called educational content can have the same numbing effect if consumed passively. The more we rely on entertainment to fill our time, the less mental energy we devote to deeper pursuits. And then there's stress, the so-called silent killer. But how much of our stress is self-inflicted? When we lack problem-solving skills or the ability to view situations from multiple angles, we amplify minor issues into major problems. Stress becomes a byproduct, not of modern life itself, but of our inability to think through life's challenges. Our aversion to risk is another culprit in the decline of deep thinking. The more we try to insulate ourselves from uncertainty, the more we avoid the growth that comes from overcoming challenges. Risk is inherently tied to learning and innovation. Exposure to difficulty forces the brain to adapt and expand. Albert Einstein once said, "Problems cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that created them." Embracing objectivity means observing the world without letting personal biases distort our perception. We must be open to changing our minds when new evidence presents itself. Fallacies are part of thinking. Recognize them, learn from them, and keep going. An active brain is a curious brain. Rather than fearing contradictions or uncertainty, embrace them. They're opportunities for insight, not obstacles. Being wrong isn't shameful, it's instructive. The world becomes more vivid, more enjoyable, and more meaningful when you observe it with clear eyes and a questioning mind. In the end, the biggest problem isn't a lack of solutions, it's flawed thinking that creates those problems in the first place. We think, but we don't act. We intend, but we don't follow through. Emotional thinking has overtaken logical reasoning. As psychologist Rollo May noted, increasing dependency on therapy is a sign of societal decline. Once, Americans were known for resilience and adaptability. What happened? And how great could America be if we really tried? But all is not lost. There is a cultural shift toward meaning and purpose away from pure materialism. If we can resist the comfort of complacency, we might rediscover the joy of thinking. We can build a society where ideas are debated with rigor, where responsibility is embraced, and where minds are sharpened through use. So ask yourself, what action will you take to think critically and escape the average life? Will you challenge yourself, read more deeply, speak more thoughtfully, question more bravely, or will you finally test out some of your theories? Will you reclaim your mind from the noise? Which one of our past videos made you think the most so far?